a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Welcome to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. I'm Jamie Council, and this is our countdown to the Water Follies, and we're joined by Brad Luce, host of H1 Unlimited. Thanks for joining me, Brad.
Well, it's always good to be here. It's good to be on the eve of the Tri-City Water Follies, and it's always fun to talk to you, and especially when we're talking boat racing.
It's always fun, and I know we've been having this countdown to the Water Follies, and it's almost here, and it's been kind of an interesting season. So in today's show, I want to recap the season thus far, hit some top storylines, and then tell fans what they can expect for the Water Follies coming up the last weekend of July. So right now, what does the scope of H1 look like at this point in the season?
Well, we're coming up, as you said, onto the Tri-City Water Follies, and it's got an added attraction this year. It's not only our Columbia Cup race that we've had in the past, it is the APBA Gold Cup, APBA being the American Powerboat Association. And in every form of motorsports, there is one race, there's one trophy, there's one event that every team, every driver, every crew chief points at that they really want to win. And in hydroplane racing, it is the APBA Gold Cup. So this is our crown jewel. This is the biggest race of the season. It's the one everybody points at and looks toward and circles on the calendar. Plus, so many of our race teams are based in the Pacific Northwest. So while this isn't quite home waters, although we've got two teams and four boats that are based here out of the Tri-Cities, it takes on a little added perspective from that. But it's our third race of the season. We've run two, kind of, and we'll get into that. I know previous races in Alabama and Indiana. But this one's shaping up to be a very, very competitive event on the Columbia. It usually is. And we usually get more boats to show up for our races in the Pacific Northwest, and that will be the case in the Tri-Cities. So I'm expecting more boats than we've seen. There's more racing because it's the Gold Cup and that particular format. And I expect very, very good competition on the water.
Yeah, and the two teams you're talking about, and we've heard them on the show on this countdown to the Water Follies, of course, Strong Racing, Daryl Strong, Corey Peabody, J. Michael Kelly, and then it's really fun to see BWR Racing. We heard from Bruce Radford as well as Andrew Tate, Dave Villwalk on our previous show, and hit exactly on what you said, that not only is it the crown jewel, but being in the Pacific Northwest, and especially it was really interesting to hear from Andrew Tate talking about that Gold Cup, that it's a new race team, it's a new team, so getting that crown jewel would be huge for them. And so right now in the season, speaking of Andrew Tate, he's leading through high points right now.
He is our leader in national high points, and it kind of leads us into our first couple of races of the season. We haven't really done a whole lot of racing. We certainly haven't done as much racing as we had hoped to do. We got blown out in Guntersville, Alabama, and it was really too bad because they have that big, fast race course down there. They refer to it as the South's fastest water, and it's fast. They turn some mighty quick laps down there, but we just didn't get to race. And at the end of the day, we put one heat on the water. We had a rather spectacular crash and incident before we even completed the first heat. Everybody was okay. We damaged a little bit of equipment, but then Mother Nature said, this is my show from here on in. And that was the end of the racing for the weekend. And that happened on Saturday morning. And after Saturday morning, we were done. And so the only points that we came out of Guntersville with was qualifying points. So not many points there. And then we had a race shortened weekend in Madison, Indiana, a couple of weeks ago on the Ohio River. Again, Mother Nature decided she was going to get involved. And we had beautiful water conditions once we got the level of the river correct. But then later in the day on Sunday, the wind came up and it was blowing upriver against the current. And it just made turn one a nightmare. And we had turn two pretty much right where we could see it on the official tower. And the water looked fine. But down at the bottom end of the race course, it was a mess. So we had a shortened event there. Andrew Tate was our champion there. He walked off with the 75th Madison Regatta Indiana Governor's Cup. He was certainly happy to do that. But I also know, to your point, he is pointing at this Gold Cup. He's won it before. But there is, and to the common fan who was at the Columbia Cup a year ago watching Andrew Tate drive the black, gold, and white U91 Goodwin Real Estate, there doesn't appear on the surface to be really any difference. It's the same driver, the same boat. They work out of the same shop in Tukwila with the same crew chief. Nothing's changed. Well, there is that new change. That's the new owner, Bruce Ratchford. And certainly Andrew not only wants his second Gold Cup, but he'd love to get one for BWR Racing. That would be fun, I'm sure, for everybody involved.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Andrew Tate won in Madison. And when we talk about the drivers' high points champions, yes, Andrew Tate sitting on top, but those points can come and go so quickly. And second in that same race in Madison and second in the high points is J. Michael Kelly. Andrew Tate has 1,225, 1,130. So it's a really tight race. And even looking at, you could take a look at the top five, that those points can come and go really quickly.
Yeah, especially when you consider, and I mentioned it just briefly earlier, is that this is a bigger event, not only in stature, because it's the APBA Gold Cup, but we run an extra section of heats as well. Instead of each boat running 3 times prior to the final, every boat will run 4 times. And with 400 points on the line in each one of those heats, if I can do the math in my head, 5 times 4 was 21. So there's 2,000 points laying there for just the heat races. Add in another 100 points for the top qualifier. There's 2,100 points on the table here. So you're right. Those numbers sitting at 1,000 or a little bit more, that can change very quickly.
Absolutely. And I guess we hear the same names. Anybody that follows boat racing, you know of Andrew Tate. You have to be an idiot if you've never heard of Dave Villwalk. You can't call yourself a fan if that's the case. And then, of course, Corey Peabody with, Strong Racing. They've been a real names in the Tri-Cities especially, but somebody that is having a great year is Jamie Nilsson and has always kind of been right there, and it's really fun to see other teams come in, and he's having a great year so far.
He is. They've got their new sponsor with the flavor pack on board, so the boat is blue and yellow, and it's all dressed up in different colors. Fans will remember this boat from last year when it was red and black and white, the Mercury's Coffee Company. But now it's the flavor pack, and ownership is here in the Tri-Cities, or the sponsor is here in the Tri-Cities. So that puts a little added excitement in that team. We've said it so many times, it's become cliche, Jamie. One of these days, Scott and Shannon Rainey, Jamie Nielsen, and the U11, the flavor pack, is going to win a race. One of these days, it's going to happen. I keep telling the owners, Scott and Shannon, that I just hope I am there when that happens, because that's going to be a party in the pit area I don't want to miss. It'll be a lot of fun. And Jamie has a knack for getting an inside lane. We fight for lanes in our heat racing format and in our final heats. And so the boats don't know what lane they're going to be in when they leave the dock. Jamie has a knack for getting the inside lane. Some people will say, well, the other teams might feel they've got him covered, and so they'll let him in there. Either way, Jamie's got a knack of getting on the inside. And one of these days, he's going to get the jump on the field, and they're going to have their hands full trying to run him down.
Absolutely. And Jamie got third in Madison, which is really our only race, quote unquote, of the season so far. And a fun fact that played baseball at Central Washington, was pretty good too. I believe he's in the Hall of Fame over there. So a baseball player, now a boat racer, Jamie Nilsson. Plenty of racing left in the 2025 season, including the Columbia Cup, the Gold Cup, coming up the last weekend of July. This is our countdown to the Tri-City Water Follies. We'll be right back talking more H1 Unlimited racing with Brad Luce here on the Sports Council, 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Krispy Kreme and DC Comics unite for the Superhero Collection. 3 new donuts inspired by Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, ready to save your summer. Pair them with a refreshing infused chiller only at Krispy Kreme now through July 27th. Planning a summer fundraiser? We make it easy for your church, team, or nonprofit. And check your Krispy Kreme app for new treats and deals. And don't forget, military and first responders always get 10% off. Visit us at 2805 Dupertail in Richland. Krispy Kreme, come in with a sweet tooth, leave with a smile.
Is your water softener doing its job? At Soft Water Specialists, we understand the importance of clean, efficient water treatment systems. That's why we offer our annual maintenance program to keep your system running smoothly year-round. Our certified technicians perform a comprehensive checkup and calibration to ensure optimal performance and longevity, finding potential problems before they arise. With Soft Water Specialists, you can say goodbye to water problems and hello to hassle-free maintenance. Visit softwaterspecialist.com or call us today to schedule your service. Soft Water Specialists, because we want to make sure your water is working for you.
The fireworks don't stop on the 4th. McCurley Chevrolet's Red, White, and Vroom sales event is lighting up July with explosive savings. New and used cars, trucks, and SUVs, all priced to move with low lease payments, low APRs, and unbelievable trade-in offers. At McCurley Chevrolet, we don't play games or hike prices. Just fair, transparent, pressure-free buying. Don't wait. Lock in your savings and keep the Red, White, and Vroom spirit alive all July long. McCurley Chevrolet, your way home.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
You're listening to Jamie Council on the Sports Council.
We're back on the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports, joined by Brad Luce of H1 Unlimited, our countdown to the Water Follies, and just talked a little bit about the racing thus far, about the racers, the teams, how this season is looking, and it's a big race, and it's really going to set the tone for the rest of the season with the Water Follies, the Columbia Cup coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot involved in this particular event. We've had two previous events in Guntersville, Alabama, and Madison, Indiana. Unfortunately, both of those were weather-shortened events. There really was no race in Guntersville because we didn't get a heat done before the wind came in and shut us down. Madison, we got a couple of heats of racing in, but then the wind came up and it gave us a short window at the end of Sunday to run a final heat. So that was pretty much it. Now we come to the Tri-Cities. It's the biggest race of the season because it's the APBA Gold Cup, as you said, and we're going to have more heats of competition. We are all crossing our fingers that Mother Nature is going to take a vacation here and let us run this one. The weather looks good on paper. So you've got the whole APBA Gold Cup thing going on here as a backdrop. We'll have more boats here than we've had at any other race so far this season. That adds a little bit of intrigue. We'll have a couple of new boats that haven't shown up so far on the season, not new boats, but teams that didn't go back east for whatever reason. So we'll have a couple of boats there. And then we have a brand new race course. We saw this race course during the test session, and it's a little bit different. Fans will remember we've had an issue up at the west end of this course here in the Tri-Cities on the Columbia with shallow water and, dare I say those words, sago pondweed that we all remember from many years ago. But it's all up at the west end. And there's a shallow spot in the river there, and there are rules and regulations about how deep the water has to be for us to run. And there was some concern about that. We had a meeting last night. Everything is taken care of, but they kind of changed the course. And what they did to mitigate some of that depth or mitigate the depth issue was the lower corner, turn 1 down by the Blue Bridge. That's actually going to be a little bit wider. And I believe it's going to be wider by 100 feet. And then they've made the top end, the west end, that corner is going to be a little bit tighter to pull the boats off the shore and away from that shallow spot a little bit. So it's a little bit of an egg-shaped course, if you will, a tighter corner at the top end and a wider corner at the bottom, but it's still 2.5 miles. We saw during the test session, it's quick. It's quick. Gunnar O'Farrell's going to keep his boat on the water this time. Let's hope when he goes up, because we saw him get the boat up in the air during the test session. But it'll be a fast race course with a lot of boats for the biggest race of the season, and really, hopefully, our first complete race of the season. We've got unfinished business. We got work to do.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. And so talking about some of those highs or even lows, I guess just talk about, I don't want to talk about the weather anymore. I don't want to put any bad juju on it. And hopefully everything goes good, but that has been a major factor so far this season. And you mentioned that Gunnar O'Farrell's going to return to the water course. He's sitting with a goose egg in the points because after he went into the dryer cycle, and he has not come out yet, but he will be back, as well as qualifying in Madison. We have a new driver being Brandon Kennedy.
We do. That was the biggest story, certainly, of our trip back east. The whole Madison, Indiana drama and the race team being sold last winter and Bruce Ratchford picking up all of the assets of Madison Racing. And it's a 64-year tradition since 1961 in Madison, Indiana, that they've had this community-owned boat, et cetera, and all of a sudden, there's no boat. And if you've never been to Madison, these people eat, sleep, and drink that boat. They don't have a professional football or baseball team or whatever. They have that boat. And to not have that boat in their own regatta was really going to be a blow to the local community. And there was a group of people that stepped up. They got involved. A lot of work started. They started contacting people about leasing a boat. Long story short, they leased a boat from Dave Bardish up in Detroit. It was the former T3 Miss Budweiser. They got it down, and I want to say it was something like 87 days from the time they got their paws on the boat till they finally put it in the water. And this boat hadn't been wet since 2012. The boat didn't get to run. It ran a half a lap in Gunnersville. But then we got to Madison, their home waters. They've got a boat. It's going to run. They've got a driver, but he's unqualified. They got the boat in the water on Friday. They ran 3 or 4 laps. And then on Saturday, the driver qualification, Brandon Kennedy, started in earnest. And it was quite a moment. It certainly was the biggest moment of the early part of the season when Brandon Kennedy finally completed all 15 laps, and he was a qualified driver on the H1 Unlimited circuit. And that allowed the Miss Madison to race in Madison, Indiana on the Ohio. The fans went nuts. They loved it. Brandon Kennedy had quite a weekend. They have this massive parade on Friday. He was Grand Marshal of the parade, standing on the deck of the boat. And it didn't get any better than that. So it was a fun time.
So that is certainly a high point of the season thus far. And something when we're talking about other storylines from so far in the season, it's been an interesting year for Dave Villwock.
It has indeed, for the winningest driver in H1 Unlimited history with 67 wins. He's driving for Bruce Ratchford Racing, and he's driving the same boat he drove a year ago, it was the U-27 Miss Apollo last year, but it was owned by Charlie Wiggins out of Rainbow City, Alabama. Well, that was part of the equipment that Bruce Ratchford went out and purchased in the offseason. So again, to the casual fan, here's Dave on the water in a red, white, and blue boat that's U-27. Looks like the same thing to me. And it kind of is. It's just under new ownership. Well, this boat's got a lot of, or at least what we hear and what we're told and what we read, there's a lot of trick equipment on this boat and just some things that they're not going to talk about. But this boat, being the newest and having the vision of Dave Villwalk behind the construction and the assembly of this boat's got some features to it, and it is cutting edge technology, and everybody's just waiting for this boat to see what it will do. I talked to Dave before the season started. He said the boat, maybe it's 85% there. I don't know. I've only seen the boat run once in competition, and he gobbled up everybody on a run down the backstretch on the one lap that we tried to run in Gunnersville. And then unfortunately, it all came about and all came apart as they were exiting turn one, lap one, heat one. He picked up the right side of the boat, picked it up, and then the whole front end was out of the water, and he started moving right. Now, if you're in lane one, you don't want to be moving right when your boats were tightly bunched, and all four of them were. And he went through two rooster tails before slamming back into the water right in front of Corey Peabody, who was sitting in lane four. And Jamie, I likened this to, it's very similar to if you're driving on the freeway, I-5 in downtown Seattle, and you're doing 70 miles an hour, and you're in the left-hand lane. Just make a hard right-hand turn and see how well that works out for you. I mean, it was extremely dangerous that he didn't hit anybody, and we thought he hit Corey Peabody. Corey Peabody lost the canard, but it turned out that that was water damage to the front from the splash off Dave's boat. But he hung in the air for a long, long time. And actually, halfway through the incident, I actually thought consciously in my mind, he might land this thing. But then one more rooster tail, he went up higher and it was out. So it was pretty dramatic. The boat was damaged to the point they couldn't take it to Madison. They ran a backup boat. But all indications are the boat will be ready to go here in Tri-Cities. Dave's ready to go. Dave's always ready to go. Like I said, he's the winningest driver in the history of our sport. If he gets one more Gold Cup victory, if he were to win here on the Columbia River, that would be Bruce Ratchford's first Gold Cup. It would be Dave's 11th, and he would tie Chip Hanauer at the top of that list. Chip, who drove and worked for Dave for many years. So Dave's always somebody you better know where he is. And I just got a sneaking suspicion this boat's really fast, and we haven't seen it yet.
Absolutely. And that was part of the reason when we talked to Dave Villwalk on the Sports Council, where he was like, oh, let's get the boat back for Madison. And then he kind of took a step back being like, why don't we make it the best to go for the Tri-Cities? Because here we come, Gold Cup. That's it. And, Bill Munsey used to always say, our legendary greatest driver of all time. He said, there's nothing like Gold Cup competition. And he said, it's just head and shoulders above everybody else. And he said, I can't even describe it. He said, but this is the pinnacle of our sport. We had Mickey Raymond out here one time back in the early 70s racing for the Gold Cup. And he made the comment. They asked him about the trophy itself. And he goes, I don't know. I've never touched it. I never will touch it. The only way you can touch that trophy is to win it. Unfortunately for Mickey, he didn't get to. He never got to touch it. So it really is something special. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we will preview what to expect from the Water Follies this year. It's not just boat racing, but of course, as Brad Luce is telling us, it's a big part of racing. We'll be right back on the Sports Council, 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
Krispy Kreme and DC Comics unite for the Superhero Collection. 3 new donuts inspired by Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, ready to save your summer. Pair them with a refreshing infused chiller only at Krispy Kreme now through July 27th. Planning a summer fundraiser? We make it easy for your church, team, or nonprofit profit. And check your Krispy Kreme app for new treats and deals. And don't forget, military and first responders always get 10% off. Visit us at 2805 Dupertail in Richland. Krispy Kreme, come in with a sweet tooth, leave with a smile.
The fireworks don't stop on the 4th. McCurley Chevrolet's Red, White, and Vroom sales event is lighting up July with explosive savings. New and used cars, trucks, and SUVs, all priced to move with low lease payments, low APRs, and unbelievable trade-in offers. At McCurley Chevrolet, we don't play games or hike prices. Just fair, transparent, pressure-free buying. Don't wait. Lock in your savings and keep the Red, White, and Vroom spirit alive all July long. McCurley Chevrolet, your way home.
Living in a rental shouldn't mean settling for poor-tasting tap water. With Soft Water Specialists, you can have pure, clean drinking water in your home easily and affordably. Our countertop filtration system removes impurities, improves taste, and fits perfectly in any rental space. Plus, it can produce hot or cold water. No big installations, no hassle, just fresh, crisp water. Stay healthy, stay hydrated, and love your water again. Soft Water Specialists. See why we have a 5-star rating on more than 600 Google reviews. Visit softwaterspecialist.com and love your water where you live.
Listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
We're back on the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. It's our countdown to the Tri-City Water Follies, and we're joined by Brad Luce, host for H1 Unlimited, and talking about all the storylines thus far in the season. And something that Andrew Tate told me was, with the weather, like we talked about, a lot of racing hasn't happened. It makes the races that do happen that much more important.
That's correct. I mean, he's exactly right, as you would expect he would be. We only have 5 races on the circuit. Well, we didn't give any points to anybody in Guntersville other than qualifying. So basically, it's a 4-race season. And in the race we ran in Madison, it was a shortened event. So he's exactly right. There's 3 races left, and there's a lot of points laying there. You do not want to have a DNF. You don't want to have a bad heat. You want to score points in every heat. You were talking earlier about Jamie Nielsen. That's the one thing they have really been able to bring to the table is consistency. Every time you put that boat in the water, you want to come back under your own power and score points. We had Corey go dead in the water one time in Madison, and I made the comment it took him 2 laps of the other boats to finally get it refired, and he came home in 3rd place. I said, it's absolutely huge. That's 225 points that he was going to kiss goodbye, but he was able to get it refired and limp home in 3rd place, and every point is critical.
Absolutely. So talking about those 3 races, we have San Diego Bay Fair going on September 12th through 14th, the first week of August. Of course, it's Seafair in Seattle. Then the last weekend of July is what we've been talking about, and that is the Water Follies, the APBA Gold Cup, and the Columbia Cup going on. And the Water Follies, this event is different. Of course, you see all the different race sites. You see what everybody does. You know, you just were talking about a parade, but in the Tri-Cities, it's not just H1. They also have other boats and an air show. So what makes the Tri-Cities, the Water Follies event, different?
You just touched on it. It's a festival. This is their 60th anniversary of the Water Follies, which means, at least what it means to me, is they're doing something right. They are doing a lot right. Part of it is we are blessed here in the Tri-Cities. I don't want to jinx anything, but we are blessed with good weather and great racing conditions. The Columbia River lays out so perfectly for the fans. The river is wide enough that we can put a 2.5-mile race course in it and have wide enough corners where we can still run 5 or 6 boats on the course at one time. Yet the river is narrow enough that there's really good viewing on both sides of the river. We can watch on both sides of the river in Madison. You can be on the Indiana side or the Kentucky side, but the river's so narrow right there that the course is very narrow, and they can only run 4 boats maximum on that course at a time. So we're blessed with a perfect layout here. Where the Neil F. Lamson pits are situated is perfect for this race course. As I said, the Water Follies people, they've learned over the years, It's more than just a boat race. It's a festival. It's more than just H1 Unlimited coming to town. As you mentioned, we've got other boats coming. We got Grand Prix. We got E350s. We got 1.5 liters, 2.5 liters. The action on the water is going to be continuous, except for a 2.5-hour window, I think, each day. And then we've got the air show going. So they're learning, or they have learned over the years. It's more than just bringing the big boats to town, which is how it all got started. But now it's become a big community event. They've got the meet and greet on, I guess it's Wednesday now. They've got all the boats are going to be down off Columbia Park Trail, down in Bruce Ratchford's area down there. They're going to have all the boats down. Drivers will be there, etc. And so there's just lots going on.
Absolutely. And at 11 a.m. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it is the air show as well. So when you're taking a look at timing, the park opens at 8 a.m. testing, 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and everything wraps up. I mean, of course, it's not exact timing as we know in the boat racing world, but around 5 o'clock. But that's a very, very gray area thing to say.
Let's say it's loosely scheduled. We've always made the comment in H1 that by the time they run the schedule off the printer, there's a new one being typed up. There's just so many things that can happen. I got a little sidebar here, and I got a story for you to watch this weekend that you may not be aware of. In 2019, Corey Peabody came to the Tri-Cities. He was driving for Rob Graham, and he drove a boat called Graham Trucking American Dream. It was red, white, and blue, et cetera, et cetera. He made the final heat. He was the trailer boat. He finished in 7th position. Since that race in 2019, Corey Peabody has never lost on the Columbia River. And people are going, no, wait a minute. Jimmy Shane won in 2022. That's right. But Corey had blown his boat over in Madison. He didn't race that year. And if you talk to Corey about it, he will talk about Daryl and Vanessa Strong, his ownership group, residing here in the Tri-Cities. And I've talked to Daryl about this. I've talked to Corey about it. He feels a responsibility to, quote unquote, have their back. And he's told Daryl don't worry about it. I got your back. They had one of their boats, J. Michael Kelly, in the unfortunate crash here a year ago. Corey went to Daryl and said, don't worry about it. I got your back. And he delivers. So just something to watch. He's got a heck of a streak going here in the Tri-Cities. Corey likes this race course.
Yeah, there's a lot of great storylines talking to quite a few of the drivers of what would a Gold Cup mean to you. And they all make such great cases, but it's going to be decided on the water.
It will be decided on the water. Another storyline you can keep an eye on this weekend is Andrew Tate got a victory in Madison, Indiana. If he gets one more, he will tie a guy named Mark Tate on the list of, who's won the most races. They will tie, I think it's for 15th place with 12 victories. And he and his father, Mark, are the only two that have their names on the APBA Gold Cup. And he will tie his father in career victories if he gets another win this year. So keep an eye on that one, too. They both downplay, but that's got to mean something special.
Brad, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate your insights, and I'll see you at the Columbia Cup.
Absolutely. I always look forward to seeing you there. It's always fun talking to you. Thank you for having me on. And fans, this Columbia Cup is bigger this year. It's the APBA Gold Cup. It should be great competition. Don't miss it. Come on down to the river. Got the air show, many classes of boats. It'll be a lot of fun.
So this is our countdown to the Water Follies, and well, it's here. The Water Follies happening the last weekend of July. For more information, you can check them out, waterfollies.com. Well, that wrap up this week's show. Brad Luce joining us from H1 Unlimited. You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Well, that wrap up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to this show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council, and it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community. Until next time, I'm Jamie Council. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.